So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, August the 24th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581 and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. It's a whole lot more fun to have a discussion with you all and what you're interested in hearing, or at least give us a topic to start a discussion. And a whole lot better than doing a monologue and us trying to guess what people want to hear. So definitely press 1. Give Michael just a minute to get dialed in. And as always, I will direct you to our website, which is whyagain.org, WHYAGAIN.org. And there's all kinds of information there. If you click on the Start Here button or the bullseye in the middle of the page, they both take you to where you'll find the worksheets. Somebody had written to me and said they couldn't find the Mind Shifters list. And so I will respond to them, give them a direct link to it. But if you go to our website and, like I said, click on the Start Here or the bullseye, and then just scroll down a little bit. You know, at first we have the forgiveness worksheets. And then underneath that, there's some information on, well, actually, first is the perception poster, and then the Chapter 24, Michael's book, and then the wake-up sheets, and then special MP3 shows where we walk people through doing the worksheets. And then there's information on how this corresponds with the AA programs. And then there's information about the app. And then if you scroll on down, you'll see the forgiveness PowerPoint presentation. And then it says other worksheets, reality management, forgiveness. And there's everything from posters like the apology tool, the love exchange. Those are both posters, as is the physiological effects of emotional suppression and the schematics of the mind and 5 smooth stones. So a lot of those are posters that we have. But then you'll see the Mind Shifters list. There's also a Mind Shifters list that I use with the women's workshops. It's a little bit different. And then there's the information about the personal code, evaluation feedback sheet, and the purpose worksheet, symptoms of healing, early memories when I heal. There's just lots and lots of information out there, lots of worksheets. Everything's free to download there. And then visit our MP4 page. We now have all the DVDs as streamable, and stay in touch, put the tools to work, and then call the show. This show is here to support you in doing your work. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. We are honored and delighted that you're here as we enter the next level of inquiry into these ancient Aramaic tools of forgiveness. And I'm going to start right in with the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? We're at the bottom of page 103 if you're reading along with us. The book is available for free download from our website. When Ginny was just describing the layout of the new website, and you'll see a picture of the face of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, the cover. You click on that, you can drill down and download the book for free. You can also find used copies fairly inexpensively on YouTube and on Amazon. They're always there. So it's nice that though it's out of print, there's a good supply of them out there. And so we're talking to the character, Richard, about the file folder effect. And I offer him the thought that the file folder effect is not thinking. It is only information firing in brain cells. It is information cycling in the quote-unquote body's mind in response to input, words, images, symbols, impulses, or sensations. Richard seemed intrigued with this concept and leaned toward me as he spoke. Do you mean anything that triggers brain cells can be a catalyst to the file folder effect, he asked? Yes, and if our lives are run by that effect, we're run by the past. Recall that removing realities from a mind is called forgiveness and is the key to taking charge of your life. Developing the skill of managing the output of the mind makes one the operator of his or her own mind. And so one of the things that we're looking to do is support people in recognizing that the secrets are not hidden in the mind. In fact, the secrets are hidden by the mind. And one of the skills that we're about supporting people developing is the ability to choose rather than live by the law of resonance. The non-being mind has a cheap copy of everything that's real in the spiritual dimension. The non-being mind's cheap copy of reason is resonance. Again, I say, don't think about the color of your car. And what happens? That flap of skin in my throat that vibrates and causes air molecules to move causes a little flap of skin in your ear called a drum to move, causes some bones to vibrate, sets up an electrical frequency. And that frequency, depending what I vibrated with my voice, will resonate what is in your mind in response to that speaking. So a lot of people think they listen to what other people say. You have never listened to what anyone has said in your life. Your listening happens in brain cells. And of course, if you have a different definition in brain cells for a particular idea that another is attempting to communicate, then you will tend to listen to the idea you have around what has been said rather than what it is they're working to communicate. We actually do a whole workshop called Communication. Did you hear what I think I said? Because if we've got a dozen different people in a room and each one of them has different brain cells, they're going to have different meanings for everything that is said. You go back to Yeshua 2,000 years ago, in essence, he said, if you really want to use my work, you've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I think we're fairly safe in assuming that most everyone in his audience had what we call eyes and ears. But we're not talking about that when we talk about having the eyes to see and the ears to hear. When you hear the ancient scriptures saying, those who hearing do not hear, those who seeing do not see or understand. Because unless you have the same brain cells that he has for his words aren't going to make sense. One of the biggest one, of course, is the core of this work. Most people in this culture hear forgive, and they say, oh yeah, I heard Yeshua talk about forgiveness, and I know I really do need to forgive them. Our caution from the first century Aramaic teachings on forgiveness would be, please never forgive anyone. And people say, oh yeah, that's right, I have to forgive myself. No, never forgive yourself for anything. And at this point, people often get confused because then it's like, well, wait a minute, Michael. I thought your work is about forgiveness. Yes, absolutely, 1,000%. And letting somebody else off the hook. The Greek idea of pardoning, substituted forgiveness for forgiveness, has nothing to do with forgiveness. So when I say, have you done any worksheets? Have you forgiven around that particular situation? Most people's brain cells will fire, oh yeah, I need to let them or myself off the hook. That's got nothing to do with the brain cells firing in me. Nothing to do with my instruction. My instruction would be, if you interact with someone and the energetic patterns they engage in arouse something based in hostility or fear in you, then you apply the tool of forgiveness to remove the hostility or fear that's moving in you, to get free of the generational patterns of blaming everybody else. And as that occurs, all of a sudden we get to hear, quote unquote, the more accurate teachings of this man, Yeshua, from 2,000 years ago. And we're looking to get this multi-generational database called the body-mind unit free of everything based in hostility and fear, so that it can listen truly and in alignment with the actuality of life, rather than the realities that people run around with and, try to understand each other. There's a great divide right now in America. If you look at the political system and you hear people talking and you look at the brain cells that one set of people has brain cells for, you listen to what another person has, and you see why there's a divide. You're not talking the same language. The eyes to see and the ears to hear have to be held in common before we can understand common meanings. And so that's our purpose in being here, and we're delighted that you're here to be part of the process. Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
It is quiet both places. So we have 50 minutes. Press 1.
Lots of time for conversation. So if you're out there in the listening zone, if you're on one of those stations that were carried on that we can't see, or it's moving in opposition to, which means it's moving in the same direction. It's only when we get to a still place, a still point, so we call it still point breathing, which incidentally we'll be doing another still point breathing workshop on October the 9th. That'll be our next workshop. To that still point is the place where you can start to turn in another direction. It's interesting to go back into the Aramaic language. The word repent is not some word that describes how evil you are and you need to repent of your sins. The word actually means to turn in another direction. Now, a lot of people language, well, you've got to turn away from those evil things. No, you can't turn away from evil. On the level where you're a creator, you've got 360-degree vision. If you try to turn away from it, if you try to fight it, if you try to resist it, as Yeshua said, resist not the evil. He just recreated it. You just got stuck in the stream again. The word repent means to turn toward. So when we can turn toward a different process than the one that wounded into you, perhaps emotionally terrorized into you. And those are the energetic patterns that ultimately you need to apply forgiveness to remove them. And as that happens, and you build the brain cells, all of a sudden it just starts to make more and more and more and more sense. It's like, oh my God, this is just how the energy system works. And if we relate it to the idea of law from the ancient Aramaic, we hear the Greeks telling us basically that law is the rule of a superior. There's some big daddy in the sky somewhere, some king, that wants you to be a groveling, obedient servant. It's interesting, if you were given that idea of the Creator, go back and read the part of the scriptures that says, here's the Creator speaking to humans. It says, of the works of my hands, command ye me. Here's the Creator saying, tell me what you want. And it will be carried out. Now, if there's a problem with that, it's that most people are getting exactly what they want. But they have no conscious awareness that their wanter is in their unconscious, and what they refuse to deal with, what they refuse to look at in their unconscious keeps repeating. You just need to listen to their language. The person who says, oh, dear child, I never wanted to beat you. Well, what did their language just tell us? in the file in that person's parent's mind on beating a child is a desire or an energetic dynamic that will drive that person to be abusive. Until that's removed, that's going to tend to run a person's life. And so when you watch what happens with your speech will tap you in every time. Now, I mean, lots of people, when I point out what their speech said, well, I didn't really want to rage at my spouse. So then I would offer that person speaking that regulatory speech. So then when was the last time you abused your spouse? Oh, well, I never would do that. Well, you just told me with your speech that that's what's in your brain cell structure. Now, whether you are in denial of it or acceptance of it doesn't matter. If it's there, it's going to show up in speech. If it shows up in speech, it shows up in speech because it's there. And if there's abusive language or abusive thought, you can project into your brain's image of anyone. You can make it all about them and pretend that you're not responsible for your pain. Pretend that you're not responsible for your rage or your separation or your judgment or your blame or your guilt. You can pretend. But if you listen to your own words, your language will not lie to you. And when I point that out to many people, they go to such great lengths to convince me that, well, what I said is not what I really meant. Excuse me? What you really meant is exactly what you said. Again, if there's a not or a don't in front of it, doesn't matter. If that's what's in brain cells, that's what's going to come forward. Well, what if somebody says to me, well, did you want to be abusive? What am I supposed to say? Well, if what's in brain cells is to be loving, gentle, and respectful with someone, if someone asks me that question, I might say, well, I have no interest in abuse. What I really want to do is treat people, including myself, lovingly, gently, and with respect. So it doesn't mean I'm never going to use a word like abuse. I mean, if that's what the question is, that's what fires brain cells, then one can say, oh, well, that doesn't fit for me, and here's what is really true for me. We spend a lot of time in the course Laws of Living looking at what we call regulatory speech. And regulatory speech is a speech that regulates cellular chemistry and function. It regulates the function of our organs. It regulates our emotions. It regulates our speech. And it regulates our creative process. And probably one of the greatest atrocities done to us as human beings down through the ages and that we've bought into is that we've had hidden from us the fact that we are by nature creators. You and I are creative beings. And when I recognize that I'm a creative being, my language is a frequency, is a vibration, is an energy that reinforces and supports in the world what it is my speech is about, as well as supporting it moving inside of me. So as I build the brain cells for that, I can notice if I'm talking about how, well, I didn't want to talk that way, okay? So now we know there's a part of your mind that wants to talk that way, and so there's your next piece of forgiveness. So you dig out that worksheet, and if you're not using the forgiveness processes yet, if you haven't been introduced to it, you can go to our website, whyagain.org, whyagain.org, and in the upper left-hand corner, there's a link that says Start Here. That link will walk you right through everything we know about forgiveness, and I mean everything. It's all there, free. Yes, you're going to have to take the time to absorb it. And it's interesting. Some people are like, well, I really want the answer to the secrets of life. And I've got $5 in 5 minutes. Give it to me right now. Well, good luck. Not going to happen. You tell me that you want to become a lawyer and you're willing to spend 8 years in school and, several $100,000, and you come out with a little piece of paper that says you're a lawyer, or a doctor, or a teacher. But the major question of life, how do you live a healthy, happy, wholesome life of contribution to the world? And people are in their trauma, and they got $5 in 5 minutes. Oh, yeah, I want the answer to all of life. Far deeper question than becoming the lawyer or the doctor or the teacher or mathematician or whatever it is you're going to go get your degree in. Far, far, far bigger question. But what, me? I have to spend time building brain cells? I have work to do? I have to learn? Yeah, that's the way it works. And so there are hundreds of hours of material if you click that link. Start here in the upper left-hand corner of the homepage. And you can do the forgiveness worksheet process right on our website. Step by step, fill in the blanks. You can print the worksheets off, save them to your computer, print them off, do them on your computer, or print them off on your printer with a long hand. You can also go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland, one word, Heartland. Second word, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. If you type in those words, you'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app. Miss Jeannie created it, and it is awesome. Just actually did an upgrade recently, just a few weeks ago. Major upgrade. Corrected some minor bugs that were in the program, but also added a section to the app where the commitment is available. So check it out and put it to work. And then as questions develop, the reason we're here doing this show is to be the space to answer those questions, to offer support, to really have people be able to develop the brain cells for how do you master life? What's that look like?
And I had a thought, though, since you mentioned the resonance versus reason or choice, maybe go over the rest of the 5 smooth stones.
Say that again?
Impact. Hello?
Yeah, could you say that again, sweetie?
Yeah, I said you mentioned the resonance versus the reason or choice. I said, why don't you go over the other 5 smooth stones? Are you hearing me? Are you there? Well, I am not sure if it's my phone or Michael's. Let me walk in there and...
I got disconnected, sweetie.
Oh, okay. So, do I need to say it again?
One more time, honey. Third time's a charm.
Apparently. So you had mentioned the resonance versus reason or choice. So go over the rest of the 5 smooth stones.
And what are the 5 smooth stones? Well, we're told about this story of a battle that happened in a valley, and the Jews are facing off against, I think it was the Philistines, and they decide that instead of wiping out each of their armies, they're each going to send out a soldier to fight. And Philistines send out Goliath, and Goliath is 9 feet tall, swords and shields and spears and helmets, and he's the toughest dude on the block. If you listen to the story carefully, he probably has some significant disorders because he really can't see very well. He has to ask, David to come closer, and he's got some disabilities, but he's big, and nobody on the other side will come out and fight him. And then this little guy who is a shepherd boy, he's not even big enough to wear armor, volunteers. He says, I'll go and do the battle with you. And he goes out on the battlefield, and he carries with him a slingshot. And we're told 5 smooth stones. Now, I've been told that, a smooth stone, if you sling it from a slingshot, is going to fly truer than one with sharp edges. And, to some degree that might be true, but I think if, I've never been in that arena, but if I were going into battle with a slingshot, I think I'd want some sharp cutting stones. But we're told that David has these smooth stones. I would offer that they're called smooth stones because they are skills that he has practiced with which to take down this giant, this seemingly undefeatable monster of a guy. And that undefeatable monster, if you've ever, let's say you've had a habit in your life that you don't like, something you don't like about yourself, maybe an emotional response, and you say to yourself, well, man, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And maybe you say that to the person you've done it to, maybe more than once. Well, that's it. I'm finished. I'll never do that again. And then the next time that person gives you the look, you do it again and again and again. What happened that you can't get choice about that which is in you that you don't like about yourself? And I'd offer the reason that happens is because you do not understand how to forgive. And part of what develops as you forgive, that is, as you remove, remember to think of the word forgiveness as removal. Part of the practice of removal is developing a set of higher faculties. So this non-being mind, this non-being self represented in this story by Goliath, the small voice within us will guide us to awaken and take charge of that and to win that battle. So David, he's this little shepherd boy. What do shepherd boys do? They're hanging out in the hills and watching over the sheep. A lot of blank staring time, for one thing, a lot of quiet time. It's interesting. Read the book, and I'm not sure whether it was in Magical Child or Magical Child Matures by Joseph Chilton Pierce. And he talks about the research where they looked at what it was that made for brilliant, happy children. What they showed was, or what they found was, that the key ingredient was not what the nutrition was, or how big their houses were, how large their parents' investments or businesses were, how fancy their cars were. The common link was that brilliant, happy children had plenty of blank staring time. Well, I could imagine that sitting out there as a shepherd boy, you're doing a whole lot of meditation, blank staring time, and that's part of what develops these 5 higher faculties that were referred to as the smooth stones. David goes down onto the battlefield and takes out this seemingly undefeatable monster of a guy with almost no effort. And if you have the tools, and if you have practiced them, they're going to have to be smooth. They're going to, we're inviting you to practice forgiveness. We're inviting you to practice choosing differently, which takes reason. And so these 5 smooth stones are what empower one to take charge of the emotionalized patterns of the family system and of the cultural system, taking apart the control and this battle for being a conscious human being that Goliath represents. So the first, and the non-being mind has a shadow of the created being's tools. We have this thing called resonance, as Jeannie keyed into here in the topic of this particular chapter. And the law of resonance is an automatic thing. All you have to do is set up a frequency. Don't think about the color of your car, and that's what's going to pop up in brain cells. So that's resonance. Reason, there's no reason in don't think about the color of your car and having that information pop up. All that is a cheap copy is resonance. And you watch people when they're under stress, and resonance drives them to do the same old thing over and over and over, even if they hate themselves for it. Especially. And so reason is the first of those smooth stones, and it's the ability when the mind, carbon-based memory, serves up a behavior, serves up a set of words that tend to drive speech, and the being with awakened reason can refuse what Goliath offers, can refuse the non-being mind's resonance, and select a different energetic pattern to engage in. In the Healing Through Relationships workshop, we offer the commitment as a personal code for people to begin to live by, to work to live toward. And so if you chose to live in harmony with that, and your mind tends to fly off the hook with rage or fear or intimidation or control or violence or viciousness of any kind, then reason is going to start to break that down and allow you to introduce to your mind new energetic patterns, which, if you know how to forgive, your mind will then accept. So that's the first smooth stone, is reason. There's will. Now, the cheap copy of will is willpower. I'll get this done. It doesn't matter what. I'll plow my way through. That's got nothing to do with will. That's Goliath's bully. I'm going to get it no matter what. Will is a very gentle, faculty with which one takes charge of the goals that are going to manage one's own mind and therefore one's behavior. So will is that spiritual faculty that empowers one to manage their own mind rather than being managed by their mind. You remember Yeshua talking about the servants who bind the householder in his own temple. You're not meant to be bound by the servants. Your voice, your so-called thinking processes, the function of carbon-based memory, are there to serve you, not run you. But if they run you, yesterday, that ancient quote that says, "Look to the lives of the fathers, for ours are but a shadow of theirs upon the earth." They were saying what runs most people's lives is resonance. If you have reason and you've developed the faculty of will, then you manage your own mind by the management of your goals. We actually have a whole worksheet from our Laws of Living class called the Mind Goal Management. You might want to look it up and put it to work. We get into instructions on how to use that sheet in the DVD or the streaming service now of the Laws of Living class. The next faculty, that inside of us there is a teacher. All of this work is about supporting you being connected to the teacher in you, not to somebody out here. The true authority in your life is the teacher inside of you, your inner tutor. And so the ability to access information without recourse to the content of carbon-based memory is intuition. I can function out of guidance that does not involve Goliath or the body's mind. The non-being mind's Goliath's cheap copy of intuition is psychic. And, looking many of the ancient teachings, they warn about the psychics because those who function out of the psychic realm are functioning out of carbon-based memory. And what they will tend to do is bring whatever the conclusions have been, experiences have been in their lives, they'll bring into this attempt at intuition and end up often brainwashing people with the issues they have and that they haven't resolved. We have the psychic that went through a horrible divorce, messed up her whole life, or his whole life. And they stand in front of someone who's got some relationship issues in their marriage. And they brainwash them. They program, you're going to have this horrible, terrible, messy divorce that's going to change your life. And the psychic plants a frequency that if somebody's receptive to it can run and ruin that person's life. So the cheap copy of intuition is psychic. Imagination is the next of the 5 smooth stones. And imagination is the ability to tap into what is possible in the creation and literally image the energetic pattern of that into your body and mind and bring it into the world. Goliath's cheap copy of imagination is fantasy. I have a fantasy about this, as opposed to my imagination is giving me information and guidance to move my life forward. We oftentimes hear people who start with this work and are like, I'm going to teach this, I'm going to run a center, I'm going to open a center, I'm going to, and all kinds of fantasies, but no ability to put any legs under it. And they disappear. Then the final of the 5 smooth stones is perception. The mind has construct that comes from carbon-based memory called perception. And few people realize that everything that they see comes from the firing of brain cells in the past, in the mind, and that's what generates this world of perception. Forgiveness is about collapsing perception and removing the errant roots of hostility and fear-based perception. So this one, there are actually 3 levels. There's normal perception, the way most people look at the world, whatever they've been brainwashed into. Their mind generates pictures, and they think the pictures are outside of them. And so they live in that world of perception and have no idea that each perception they experience is telling them about the content of their own minds rather than about what's happening in the world. Now, there are 2 way stops to the higher faculty here. One is, as you do your work and clean up carbon-based memory, forgive what never belonged, you clean out errant perception, and you get to the point where your body's mind serves up only accurate information actually happening in the world. Now, it still can't give you the actuality of what's happening in the world, but it can give you accurate information about it. If hostility or fear is moving, you're getting alive from your body's mind. You're getting something from the past. That's the indicator that you're in errant perception. But we can move to corrected perception. And as one does their work and corrects what's going on in carbon-based memory, then they reach a place where perception itself can just be collapsed and silenced. And that space where perception shows up becomes a space where the actuality of any given experience is now writing meaning in that space of awareness. And we term that enlightened perception, the fifth smooth stone. And so that's, I'd offer, is the purpose of that whole story of David and Goliath. It wasn't about battling out in the field somewhere and a giant and a little guy. It's a whole different metaphor, a whole different level of meaning that's available if we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It's interesting, many people step into the arena of spiritual teachings without any brain cells for it, and oh God, the stuff they make up. Oh, just listen to the hostility and fear. Whew. If you hear somebody in the name of the Creator called love, Yeshua brought us a correction. He said, my Father, our Father, the Creator, is love, and it's Creator's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, and the kingdom means the community of love. That's what we were handed. And then people came along who thought they knew something about it, knew nothing, had no experience whatsoever, but they had some call. Yeah, their psychic faculty said, we can fix the world. We'll just vary its state of imperfection so that it matches what we want. And now we have, let's say, without looking at all of the world's major religions, let's just look at so-called Christianity, and you realize there's some 32,000 different sects. I mean, think about that. 32,000 official organizations who say, we've got the only truth. And then you listen to the rage and the fear and the intimidation that gets put into the mouth of Yeshua and the Creator. And some of it justifiably, because if you go back into the Old Testament, you got people coming out of deep, deep darkness, and all their minds can conceive of is this vicious, horrible, hellfire and brimstone Creator. The old, non-being mind story about the Creator. Yeshua comes along and says, I got a new story for you, new covenant. I got something new to tell you. Your Father, our Father, is love. Not any of that. None of that other stuff. This is it. All the rest of that's a lie. And he brings the five smooth stones forward with a whole new teaching and understanding. But until somebody has that key tool of forgiveness, they're going to keep telling that old story like it's true. And it is true in the minds of the people who are living it. And look at the hell that they create in the world, in their family system. And, of course, they want to put their hell on somebody or something, so let's make it the Creator's fault. So that's the five smooth stone story. Is that any other thoughts on that one, sweetie, that you come up for you?
No, it was just, since that was mentioned at the beginning, I just thought it would be really good to have it all listed again.
Well, I hope it's good for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. So we have 15 minutes. Does anybody have a question about any of that Michael just went over? And press 1. We have a hand that just went up. I believe it's Miss Susan, area code 610. You're on the air.
Hi, guys.
Hello, hey there, young lady. Welcome.
Hi. I wanted to say hi. I wanted to ask you how this still point thing went the other day.
We had a really sweet experience. In fact, out of it was interesting. It went so deep. I've never done a still point workshop, like in 40 years of doing them in person and such. I've never done a session where everybody was in still point at the same time.
Wow.
And that happened on Saturday. And
wow.
the energy was moving so deeply that I actually, for about a half an hour, turned the workshop over to Jeannie, and I went and laid down and breathed. It was awesome.
Wow.
And then Saturday evening, Jeannie and I both went into some really deep work and deep still point breathing. And so we actually decided, we haven't set up the parameters yet, but I think we're going to set up and do a monthly thing on a Saturday. We're going to do an all-day Saturday workshop. We found that we didn't need as much time as we normally do because we, when we're doing it in person, we're getting people to breathe each other and switch off. So we do 2 breathing sessions where with this group we breathe everybody at once. So we're going to do that on a monthly basis. I'm not sure whether it's going to be the first week of the month, second, third, or fourth. We're going to set that up as a regular thing. And then I think we're going to add to it one evening a week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday evening, and invite people to subscribe to that program for a year. So they've got once a month full still point breathing session, and then one evening per month in that same week. That's a Q&A and teaching session. So it was good.
That's great.
Opened a whole new arena for it.
Wow. So
how was your Saturday?
Say that again?
How was your Saturday?
It was busy running around doing stuff, and then on Monday I had a hernia repair, and I was prepped by a couple of friends that said it was going to be really very, painful and so forth. And I'm telling you, I taught my Pilates class on Monday morning and then went in and came home in the late afternoon, and the whole experience in the hospital was amazing. I think everyone in there was like a little angel. People were so nice and so careful. I didn't feel any pain, physical pain at all, and I wasn't afraid at all. And I only had a bad round of pain last night around 2 a.m. and took Advil and Tylenol, which was recommended. They gave me oxycodone prescription, but I thought I would pass on that one. And I just took 2 pills, went back to sleep, and I'm much better today. But, I'm sore. I have to, just physically in the groin where it was, just sore. But everything seems fine. But I do feel as if train hit me. I'm afraid I slept through most of your talks today. I thought, Sue, wake up. You got to wake up. You're on the show. I had it right here. I went to sleep listening to your voice, and that doesn't mean you're boring, Michael. It's just that's what happened today. But anyway.
Although it's interesting.
I can't hear you very well for some reason.
If someone was presenting and people went to sleep, that was a compliment, because it was like more than that person could handle and stay awake with. So it was actually a compliment that they went to sleep.
That's funny. Ramakrishna used to say the same thing about his consort, Holy Mother, Sarada Devi, who was the woman who was his spiritual companion through life. And she would fall asleep during his talks. And he would say, oh, no, that's just what she, that really makes it look good, Michael. I was thinking I was just copping out on you. But
there you go.
He would say the same thing. Or there was this cute story about a farmer that would come for miles to hear Ramakrishna speak. And as soon as he got there, he'd fall asleep. And somebody complained and said, this guy comes all the way here, and then all he does is sleep. And Ramakrishna said, well, that's what he needs to do right now, and he's getting the benefits. And don't mind your own business, basically, is what he was saying.
In process.
So, yeah, I suppose. Michael, I had the weirdest experience. I've had an issue that's been very much on my mind, and I won't say what it is because it's very controversial even on the radio show. But I've been doing worksheets on it, getting nowhere, doing worksheets, getting nowhere, except that I'm not getting nowhere. It's just the doing of it, keep pointing the mind in the same direction, not resolved yet, but I feel as if there is more breathing room now, more acceptance. And I'm just hoping I'm not hoping, I'm figuring the worksheet comes to us probably on many levels, but for me it's both a practical level where my mind is working and then I'm sinking down into letting go of being right, going back to early memories if necessary, and they seem to be coming out of it, not getting a very good enlightened goal except out of my head, which is to be loving and bless the other person in all circumstances and be loving, but it's mainly an intellectual assignment. I'm not really doing it. But then I had an occasion to be with a group of people who have been a real challenge to me, some of them. There was a party, it was this weekend actually, it was a thing on Saturday right after at 4:30 in the afternoon when the end of the still point would have been. I went over there and just found that I could feel the beginning stirrings of feeling real love for these people. And I thought, thank you, worksheets. But, I'm not done with the worksheets, but it just seems like a byproduct of just doing them. Keep dripping the water on that rock, and the rock is beginning to change shape a little bit. I'm extremely stubborn, so this is a nice thing to find out.
Sounds like, release, and you go back to, and they ask Yeshua, how many of those darn worksheets do we need to do? Is 7 enough? And, his answer there. And, carbon-based memory, especially if you're touching into something that is a generational pattern, it can take to really, truly move through a core issue like that. Can take a significant amounts of time. So, and it's nice that you're noticing, you're getting the shift. And my offering is, you're not loving those people at all when you're with them. But what you're doing is you're removing the hostility and fear in your mind that's interfered with your perception of them, and you're showing up as love in your own mind rather than perception. It's exactly what we were speaking about earlier. It's the 5 smooth stones. And who's running the show here? Is David running the show, or is Goliath? And it sounds like you didn't particularly like some of the stuff Goliath has been doing. And so you're chipping away at it, and you're showing up as who you are, as love. That's awesome. The fruit of your work.
And the one particular person who's been hardest to get along with was, I spoke to her first. I said, I didn't sleep at all the night before last night, and I've got to go home. I couldn't even stay at the party. And she said, oh, what? And I said, I've had a lot of insomnia. And she said, oh, me too. I go to bed around 1 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm awake again. And I said, oh, my God, that's much worse than what I'm doing. This must be terribly hard on you. And here you are running around feeding us. You've brought in food from all over the place, and you're not eating yourself. You're just running around making sure we all have stuff. How do you do it? And she said, I don't know, but I've got to stop doing this. And I thought, I wish we could talk on this level all the time. But I also thank the worksheets, because I guess something was shifting in me enough to allow something to shift in her, so we weren't just feeling hostile toward one another. And it's been underground. This is a next-door neighbor whose views are very different from ours. And so I just got tired of it, Michael. I'm so tired of it. It's exhausting not to feel good about somebody. So anyway, it's moving.
Of course, the mind tells us bad about them when the truth
I'm having trouble hearing you. Your voice disappeared. Now it's gone.
Say again?
Your phone's breaking up, Michael.
Is that better now?
A little. You sound
quiet.
very far away.
Yeah.
Say it again?
You sound very far away, but I think that last say it again was good.
Okay, well, I am right here, and it sounds like what's open is compassion. That's opening is the ability to bypass your own hostility and fear-based perceptions. Yeah, that's an awesome place to be.
I hope so. Yeah, I feel as if this is one of the last frontiers. I've worked through so many things. I was thinking of you, Jeannie, because Michael mentioned in some show last week, I think, that you have been going back and working on certain issues that have been painful for you, and now you're doing them and you're working on them, and I'm thinking, boy, it's like having a drill go into rock.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes it's like you're slugging through and can't hardly get there, and then other times it's, like super fast, speedy, but
yeah.
Well,
power to you.
The Still Point session on Saturday really opened a space, and we both got just a monumental piece of work done Saturday night, and part of it for Jeannie was about those issues that we talked about last week.
Wow. That's great.
It is. Well, anything else on your mind for this moment?
I don't think so. But thanks for being there so faithfully every day. And I know you don't get people calling in that much, me included, but it's wonderful that you're doing it.
Well, it's our blessing. I love what Richard Bach says. We teach best that which we most need to learn. And here we are learning it daily on the next level, and the next level, and the next level. And that's what it's all about. Breathing with you.
Yeah. I don't know what Louise has to say about hernias, but I'm figuring something had to be taken care of somewhere along the line. I should look it up.
Might give you another level of insight.
Yeah. Well, it's been there for 10 years.
If I know Jeannie, she's already got the search term in the search engine.
Jeannie.
I do. I was just getting ready to read it to you. So Louise Hay says a hernia represents ruptured relationships, strain, burdens, incorrect creative expression.
Wow. Well,
it's a good thing you have no strained relationships going on.
Yeah, I was telling you about one. Wow. Okay.
Resonance. Well, dear heart, we hold you in our hearts and hold you in a blessing.
Thank you.
And we're down to about the last minute or so.
All right.
Give Tim a hug for us. Tell him we send our love.
I will.
And everybody, have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world.